Apogee, Bob Clear Mountain, NEVE.
Big names enough, the marketing cannot be stronger with this new Apogee Bob Clear Mountain 8068 plugin. The original NEVE 8068 was a recording console. Now with the plugin you will probably use it for mixing, but it helps to understand this plugin when you look at the features, because what you get is not really that special or exclusive. There's a preamp and an EQ, and these are mostly for tone shaping and broad strokes. Surgical precision is not what this plugin is for. But what matters is of course the sound. This is what the Clear Mountains 8068 can do on a raw drum recording that uses kick, snare and 2 overheads. The level has been matched in loves. I will start with the plugins off and then turn them on. This is a huge uplift in sound already. And now let's do a vocal.
Leaving me keep wanting more. Your touch, so foreign. I think I'm falling in love with you, my alien. Leaving me keep wanting more. Your touch, so foreign. I think I'm falling in love with you, my alien.
Again, a nice lift. To get this sound working, I did have to do something extra, and we'll get into that in a minute. So, what does what in this plugin? The preamp has mic and a line in. The biggest difference between these two is saturation and control. Line is pretty refined. It will increase the huge amount of harmonics a bit more than the actual level boost. Mic is different. This is what you expect from a NEVE mic pre. If you boost, you will get into distortion quickly. The NEVE drive trick works really well for this one. The trick is that you boost until you start to hear distortion and then back off one click. This will give you the most saturation without distortion and the thickest sound. Of course, this will remove transients, but also that will be a conscious choice when you will use a preamp like this. When you select mic, you get the option to use auto gain. Take this with a grain of salt, because how this is compensated is kind of wild. It uses a sort of predetermined level down steps. The first steps are 1 dB. But then it quickly increases, and when you reach 40 or 50 dB, that balance is way off and too soft at the output. But at least there's some sort of gain compensation, and you can use the fader to beef up the level if needed. The output gain and fader are pure clean level controls, by the way. They don't affect the sound whatsoever. Now, because the saturation can distort rather quickly when you try to dial in the sweet spot, the difference between nice saturation and distortion is very hard to dial in at times. But there's a way to get it right. For that, let's check the vocal again. The best way to hit that sweet spot with saturation is to apply some form of level control, like a compressor before you hit the preamp. This works really well.
And leaving me keep wanting more. Your touch, so foreign. I think I'm falling in love with you, alien. And leaving me keep wanting more. Your touch, so foreign. I think I'm falling in love with you, my alien.
It really depends on the audio, of course, if you want to do this or not. With drums, I generally don't find this necessary. The EQ is, like I mentioned, for tone shaping really. Nothing surgical going on here. There's a high shelf and a low shelf, and the mid-band is broad strokes as well, with even more boost with the HQ switch turned on. This EQ is placed after the saturation and it does not affect this saturation at all. Check with this distorted bass guitar. Changing low end will not change saturation, it only adds low end. Now I will demonstrate how it would sound if EQ affects the saturation. For that I will use a second instance of the Clear Mountains plugin and have that saturate while the first one does only EQ boost. You will hear the difference. The low shelf of the plugin does a sort of pull-tag trick. It boosts around the frequency selected and has a dip above that frequency. With the high pass you can make this more focused. The frequencies you can select are by approximation at best. The display and actual frequency do not really line up. Use your ears. The frequency bands do interact with each other in nice ways, and not always in logical ways. It's best to play around with the frequencies and the output fader so you get a sound you like. Before we dive in some of the quirks and bugs I encountered with the plugin, please make sure to subscribe if you like this breakdown so far and hit that little notification bell. I stumbled upon the same bug on this plugin as with others lately, when I wanted to check the difference in sounds between Clean and the plugin. I will sound like a broken record, but this plugin also suffers from a latency compensation bug. The plugin plays back 16 samples later, which isn't compensated by the DAW. You won't probably really notice this when you have a bunch of separately recorded tracks. But with multi-track recordings like drums or parallel processing, it does matter. Check it with this next kick. One is without the plugin, the other with no extra processing. This is the kick with plugin. Let me add the raw kick to this. You hear a less defined, more phasey sound, and this is because of the difference of 16 samples. When I compensate for that by adding the missing samples to the raw kick, everything sounds fine. The solution right now is to add this plugin on every track of a multi-track recording. And if you do parallel, pull the track with the plugin 16 samples forward. That will be the workaround for now. I also encountered this visual bug. It looks like you can resize the plugin, but you can't. It only has black space or the GUI disappears. Better not touch the bottom right corner of the plugin at this moment. Overall, I'm a bit split if the plugin is really special or not. It sounds good if you ignore the latency bug, but at the same time it's not something we haven't heard already in other plugins, I think. That's why it's really important to try it out yourself on your own audio material and find out if this fits in your audio toolshed.